Now, joined with me in the studio is Professor of Cybersecurity at Ulster University, Kevin Curran. How are you, Kevin?
Good afternoon, Dora.
Good afternoon. Now, you're our Technology Tuesday specialist for today, and you're going to tell us all about the meta plans for the globe-spanning subsea internet cable. There's a lot of words there. What is it? What is the subsea internet cable?
Well, there's hundreds of them around the world. 99% of the internet's traffic is transferred through undersea international cables, really. The submarine cables, it's buried on the ocean floor. And Meta are releasing, they're installing the largest one of its kind with 50,000 kilometres. Again, so it's going to connect the US with India and South Africa and Brazil. As such, again, it's going to cost up to about 1 billion. Generally, the rule of thumb is every mile of undersea cable is about 40,000 quid. And again, that the cables, and this one can go down to 7,000 feet, meters actually, quite deep. And of course, that they're well insulated again with tar on the outside, and then of course in insulating cavity. But underneath it all is fibre optic cables, which generally are used on land here. And this one is a 24 fibre cable again, and each fibre cable individually is about the size of a human hair. Such, and they carry tremendous 224 terabits. You can't even understand how much bandwidth they have, but these connect continents to each other. And again, of course, we have the one that came into Port Rush a number of years ago, the Atlantic one. Again, that was £30 million funding, again, which connects us to Halifax in Nova Scotia, which is North America. Again, so it comes in at Port Rush, and then the landing stations there, and then we have the cable house here in the city itself, and that allowed us to up our speeds again to North America and reduce the number of hops again. But undersea cables again, that's why, of course, with the rise of conflicts around the world, and we've seen where Russia has attacked power cables and also communication cables like this again. So a lot of power cables as well, which carry electricity, are actually laid on the ocean again, on the bottom again. And modern ones, of course, double, that they piggyback, that they actually put communications in with the actual electricity cables as well, because, why not if you're laying the cable down? And again, you need these ships again, of course, which have all this cable rolled up for thousands of miles again. And very rare, people often ask, do sharks attack them, whatever else, but no, it's only been one recorded incident where a shark actually bit into a cable. Right. The most common damage actually happens in the lower, within 2 to 300 meters or even less. Again, it's ship's anchors. Right. Again, and fishing trawlers, again, will often lay their anchor down and tear the cable again and drag it. But again, that shouldn't happen, because on every modern fishing boat now, they all have quite good maps. They have screens on there as well, and all the oceans, submarine cables again, they're all well mapped out on these charts again, which fishermen and captains should be aware of again. But it can happen, especially in lower depths.
I have so many questions, and I think I just can't get my head around that. We use the internet; it's on your phone and it's all wireless. Yeah. But there's a cable needed to go. How I don't understand. The cable goes onto the sea and it comes here to this country, and then how does that go to my phone through there?
Yeah, it comes aboard literally through the beaches again. You can see where it is in Port Rush again, coming down, and it comes into, that they dig drains out to the sand all the way in. And of course, when it comes near shore, you have extra protection, really heavy duty protection again. And it goes into a cable station again, and it's where sometimes they're data centers. It depends where it is, and generally they pick selections or places to land these cables on shore, which are not busy shipping hubs as well. And we've had this, believe it or not, the first transatlantic cable was 200 years ago.
200?
Yeah, 1854, and it left from Valencia in Cork, and it landed in Nova Scotia in Canada.
And what did that do?
It allowed cable communication, Morse code, basically.
Right.
And Queen Victoria sent a message to the president, the US president of the time, James Buchanan. And he replied again, and there was a lot of, God and unity in between our nations and this and that. And it broke after 3 weeks. And it costs the equivalent now of maybe 100 million. But then they improved their techniques, within 1865, which is like 180 years ago, that they had a cable which lasted for years. And of course, we've improved the techniques And again, so we've had transatlantic cables, and of course then they went from being kind of Morse code, to being actually voice. I mean, that's how we communicate. But, we didn't have Sky TV before. We could still call the United States back in 1940. 1950. Again, so these are, again, they're like 99% of the traffic on the internet goes over a submarine cable at some stage, unless you're just communicating with, a content delivery network down the road or whatever else, your neighbours. But they're crucial.
And how do they lay it? Do they just anchor it on both sides and throw it off a boat?
So imagine a garden hose. A lot of these, imagine a garden hose and you wrap it. I mean, you wouldn't understand. There's literally the wrap, like, is the way a garden hose comes to you. But imagine one of these and it's got 40 kilometres of cable, or maybe 100 kilometres of cable. So therefore it unravels, the ship goes out, and it has an anchor dropping down directly from the ship, like an anchor, and is digging like a ditch in the ocean bed. Yeah. And then behind the actual digger of the ocean bed comes the cable, and it falls in there, and then you hope that marine life actually likes these. They build their homes on them, but then that literally happens, and then when the ship runs out of cable length, you splice them, you join them together again, because that's how you fix whenever something breaks. You can actually tell, because this laser is literally at one end, 20,000 volt powered again, but laser is light, fibre optic again, so lights are communicating from one end to the other. But again, that's how you lay them, and you can generally splice them if your ship's not long enough. But again, one of and I've teaching this for years. I teach computer networks for 25 years at Ulster, and of course submarine cables are a part of it, and so were fibre optics. One thing which I cannot get my head around lately is in the drones, which obviously are taking over modern warfare, but of course that they generally have been, up until the last year or two, controlled, wirelessly, you can imagine. But of course that both sides have jammers which take the drones out of action. They make them more or less useless, because they can jam the frequencies. So the way they got around it, and Russians were first to do it, was using fibre optic cables. So literally your drone takes off and it's got a thin fibre optic cable which attaches to it. The ones I'm looking at lately are 47 kilometres. And literally the fibre optic cable is underneath the drone, but it's only about the size of your old-fashioned or flask that you would take to work. Whatever, we all know, a flask, or or a large 500 ml water bottle. That can contain 47 kilometres of fibre optic cable. And I just don't know how you manufacture that. Yeah. And they're doing it, and that will improve again. Technology always gets better. Again, so that, of course, by having fibre optic cable attached, of course, they can't be jammed by any frequencies again. So what they're developing now is kind of laser, knives along the way, trying to break the cable by being able to interfere with it. But that's fibre optic cable, again, being used for modern warfare. Right.
And now we don't have a lot of time left, but I'd love to ask you about the bedroom warnings issued on Amazon Alexas. Can you tell me about that?
There's new research came out of University of Maryland with Tokyo researchers, and basically what they are able to do is shine light at your ordinary smart speakers. And these MEMS microphones, again, will respond to light. And again, they showed a laser from 75 metres away from a different building. They shone it down onto the speaker, and they were able to open the garage door attached to that speaker. Right. Again, so in other words, that of course, when we speak, our voice is converted into literally ones and zeros again, binary code again. But it actually is no different from shining a light. You can signal to the speaker as if you were speaking to it, and signal commands to it. And again, of course, now this is futuristic again. But basically, it was saying, like, don't keep your Alexa speakers or whatever else, your Google Nest, right beside a window. Because again, what we do know in life is attacks always get better. Now, this is early stage, it's a proof of concept. There's still a few £100 for the equipment, but it's not beyond the realms of everyone else. But attacks always get better. But the fact that you can shine a light, activate voice commands on a speaker, and get it to act without the person knowing anything about it, shows us that there's a lot more attacks than we've thought of when it comes to something like a simple home speaker.
And what dangers are there around a home speaker? We've got 30 seconds left.
Well, first of all, in one of their examples, they showed opening the garage door, so that could let them in. Others are they maybe could transfer money, because you're able to transfer money by speaking to Alexa again, if you could guess the 4-digit code as well. But no, smart speakers are literally a computer, so there's a lot of things that could be done.
a lot of things that you wouldn't actually think about.
No, I mean, who's thought of that as a side channel attack?
And can you tell me very, very quickly about the Hoover?
Yeah, I'm taking a lot of social media on TikTok. Someone's robot vacuum, the circular little things that go around and clean your floor, was seen on the Ring camera leaving the house and going down the street, and it was found in a neighbourhood again. That, in other words, the people found it very funny that the robot was leaving the house, and they were saying, was it going to have to clean up the street and everything else? And I've had a similar thing years ago where I lived above Morelli's ice cream parlour in Portrush, could not find my vacuum when I came back from work, and my doors were open, and I was certain it had gone out through my balcony and landed on some poor kid down below.
But it hadn't?
No, it hadn't. I was behind the sofa.
Well, that's a relief. But thank you so much for joining me today. That's Professor of Cybersecurity at Ulster University, Kevin Curran. And we'll have lots to chat about after the news. And we are going to have Teresa, Craig, what's the news now shortly.
On BBC Sounds, your radio, TV and smart speaker, this is The Northwest at 1 on BBC Radio Foyle.